Greetings, greetings from the future. It's Dr. Lena. It's already Sunday here in Australia. So yet another blockbuster week, one way and another, has it not? I've just been on Hogarth's channel and we read on the two black lawmakers who have been expelled in Tennessee, both called Justin. I like that. So it's Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, I think. And what we got in the three-way reading was this is catapulting them as fabulously, hugely bright, super onto it young men talking onto the national stage. So under other circumstances, who knows the names of lawmakers in Tennessee, outside of Tennessee? Now they're becoming national icons. So I think that's something to celebrate in itself. They are really, really going to go forward with this. So it's another unintended consequence for the GOP. They're just so used to business as usual. Aren't they appalling? And this is backfiring badly. So that's good. Now, out of the 1,000 things that I had written down, I'll only have time to cover some of the big strokes, but something that struck me as important. A former FBI agent this week indicated that they have evidence that Trump showed classified documents to donors. In other words, that's code for they actually have witnesses who saw it happen. Now, we can all guess, and probably wouldn't be wrong, that he did worse things. He could have done whatever he did with them in all sorts of ways. But why this is important? It's because it's evidence that he knew what was in the docs themselves. He knew what was in the boxes. He knew what was in the docs. And that's a critical link in the chain for Jack Smith's investigation. So it's actually bigger than it sounds. So along with the other good news, which was Mark Meadows and all of those various ones have to testify, including Mike Pence, let's have a look at this development. Proof that the Yeti knew. Because like all these cases, it's so hard to prove intent, even if you're absolutely sure. It's very hard to prove intent and hard to prove what someone knows and doesn't know. So let's hope this is a good news story. Okay, come on down. Ooh. Oh, this is the magician, which I keep getting for Jack Smith. The obstacle, yes. Oh, we're going to get more talking about this. Oh, I like that. Okay. So here, see how it even resembles the man. The thing with the magician is he's fully equipped and he has all these elements at his disposal, the four suits at his disposal, and the power to use it. So his challenge is that people have been, the exhaustion factor with people. Hopefully they're not taking their eye off the ball too badly, but there's a bit wounded. This could have been some argy-bargy, as we say in Australia, some argy-bargy that he's had to deal with via Merrick Garland and the DOJ or something, not quite having things all his own way. but it's a 9, and 9s are very close to 10s, and 10s are completion. So I'm thrilled to actually see a 9 here. Now, we also have the sun card coming out, not just throwing a little sunbeam, a blaring solar eclipse, you could say, on these figures. They still don't want to testify. They still don't want to. Don't see why I should. I don't want to. You know, these petulant little toads. But the sun has now outshone them, right? And Page of Wands here, it's the message. So the message of righteousness and justice and doing the right thing by the people. And so this card is saying somehow, you know how I've been saying probably for 4 years, it's all about the youth. It's all about the youth. Things like expelling those 2 black lawmakers and the banning of abortion medication and all this stuff that's going on. The youth are now engaged, and I think this is sort of saying they'll actually be following this case in a way potentially they wouldn't have if these other things hadn't happened. So this, I think, is important. This is someone who, when they speak, you listen. And this could be a woman coming forward who's prepared to tell it all. So I'm going to stick my neck out and say, I think we're going to see, once Jack Smith's stuff gets going, an equivalent of Cassidy Hutchinson, right, coming forward, who's a young woman who's going to knock our socks off. She's going to have some extraordinary testimony. Oh, good-o. Now, speaking of the DOJ, I was reading that the DOJ has reached a settlement for the victims of, remember in 2017, there was the shooting in the Baptist church. They've reached a settlement of 144.5 million. So there were 26 dead, 26 injured. And then I saw, as part of that article, the DOJ has reached 127.5 agreement already with the Parkland, Florida, the students and teachers who were affected, and another 88 million for families of those killed in the South Carolina church. Now, I'm pleased that people have some compensation, although I'm sure they would rather have their family members back. But nonetheless, compensation is important. What I don't understand, and I'm throwing this out to you guys, please let me know how this works. Why is the DOJ, does that mean the DOJ is actually funding it? But isn't the DOJ publicly funded? Doesn't this mean then that American taxpayers are paying the settlements as opposed to those who should be? So I think Sandy Hook parents sued the gun makers. And so I'm throwing this out to you. Please let me know in the comments if I've got it right or wrong. But I want to see some cases whereby actual lawmakers who refuse to deal with this issue are sued. Surely it's time, you know. We're just at the beginning of April and there's already been more mass shootings than days in the year or something. There's some shocking statistic like that. Okay, so let me know. Now, I will be talking about the debt ceiling too, because that's sort of very vulnerable. But people have been asking about Eric Prince, Prince of Darkness, Eric Prince. He's put up a deal with Ukraine for $10 billion for munitions factories and stuff. Why is he not in jail? Please tell me. I don't understand. But we'll have a quick look at what's happened. Oh, I'll move to the Russian cards for Eric Prince. Okay, so here we go. Eric Prince. While I'm shuffling, I want to tell you some good news. Vanuatu, which is a tiny Pacific island, the people are Melanesian, and they have gone to the United Nations, and for the first time, there was a unanimous United Nations ruling that goes then to the International Court in The Hague for them to determine who is responsible for climate change that is essentially taking islands under climate refugees, islands everywhere, the Caribbean, the Seychelles, every island group you can think of is so vulnerable. And that is a massive achievement for such a tiny place as Vanuatu. Oh. They were colonized by the French, so they're French speaking, and they still speak their own traditional language wherever possible. So those colonials got around. But back to Eric Prince. Won't take long on him, but he keeps turning up. Is he Betsy DeVos's brother? I can't remember whose brother he is. Absolute mercenary. Yes, well, wheeling and dealing. Let's have a good look at these cards. He comes with his own baggage here. You know, it's a bit of an uphill struggle because his reputation goes before him. I mean, he's only outsourcing himself as a mercenary, so it's not as though he's suddenly reinventing himself as a reverend in Idaho or something. He's talking mercenary talk. He's used to mixing and mingling with wealthy people. He loves it when people are under pressure, extreme pressure, and he's the one who is trying to get this deal up. But he then gets the Empress. So I'm not sure that he will actually get the deal he wants. And I'm getting the vibe it could be under a different name or something like that. I forget the name of his company originally, Black Hawk Holdings or something. But he's going to have to reinvent himself. And with the Empress, he's not going to give up. He has expansive energy. I mean, the mindset of these guys. Oh, God, how grotesque. Okay, now let's have a look at the debt ceiling. I mean, every time the debt ceiling comes up, there's always horse trading, there's always brinkmanship, it's always a crisis until it gets resolved at the last minute. But you'd have to think this is not going to be easy because the GOP is so chaotic. They can't even work with each other. Wrong cards, let me change over. To work out what they really want. You know, to quote the Spice Girls, what they want, what they really, really want, you know. So this is going to be, I think, the toughest debt ceiling stuff we've seen in a while. So I'm not looking at eventual outcome because it is in a state of flux. I'll just look at what's happening now. And there's a bit of division from what I gather within the Dems. The old guard Dems, the Pelosi's, Schumer's, Biden's, want to just wait them out and wait for Congress. It shouldn't even be called Congress, should it really? It's Animal House. Waiting for the Animal House to produce their document, knowing that they're not really capable of doing that. That's their tactic. And then there's other very concerned middle-of-the-road Dems who are having backroom talks with middle-of-the-road, if there's any left, GOPites. By middle of the road, I think they're talking Mitt Romney, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, who at least, despite their many and obvious failings, at least they understand the importance of the debt ceiling. But let's have a look at the state of play. I'll put Dems on the left, GOP on the right. Let's see what's happening there. All right. Okay. Oh, you've got to laugh sometimes with tarot. Now, with the Dems, I've got the Emperor here, normally my trump card, but in this context, I think it's like I was describing the upper echelons of the Dems as emperors. They are experienced players. They've been around the block more than once. They're sticking with the conventional way of doing things with the Hierophant, and they get the Four of Wands, the wedding card, meaning they're hoping for a deal through conventional methods. Okay. The GOP, on the other hand, they're not even talking about it yet, right? Because they don't know how to have adult conversations. You know, I loved that quip. Someone might have been a comedian or someone in the comments somewhere said, Trump is going to be tried as an adult, you know, as a bit of thing, which would be a first. But they're not even thinking about it. They're convinced it'll be all right on the night, that they'll come together with each other. However, their handicap is the false night. And this, I think, is somebody telling each side, meaning the Marjorie Taylor Greene side versus the other, what's left of the GOP. Oh, something can be done. We've just got to decide on the fine print. So they're being lied to from within. This is from within. And so what I gather from that, which is not surprising, they are totally unprepared. They haven't even got their blue sky wish list of stupid requests for funding. No. So we have to keep an eye on that. Now, Mississippi is one of 10 GOP states refusing federal funding to expand Medicaid. And I know that'll impact on quite a few of you guys. So people who have had extended through COVID access to Medicaid are about to be chopped off by their states. Why they would do that, I don't know. So you could think then people who do get cut off will think, oh, it's Biden's in, so it must be Biden's fault. And so the Dems really need to be out there speaking, making it crystal clear now, absolutely crystal, and name the states. Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas or wherever she is. These are the people who are taking you off Medicare. Please say it. It shouldn't be left to a tarot reader in Australia to make this point. Yeah. Duh. So my question is, will people understand enough about how governments work to really, will it bite? Will people understand? Hold the GOP accountable. Oh, the dream. Could they be held accountable in these states? There's good Dems in all these states too who should be making the case and hopefully are, but I'm not seeing it because I'm only looking at the national picture. So let's hope that is happening in these states. Also, anyone from those states, let me know what's happening. What's the vibe on the street? Where's the money coming from? I'm not getting lots of swords, meaning fighting and stuff. What I'm getting here is, I'm thinking this is the card of nostalgia, the lover's card, deals, my GOP fake happy families. You know, this is all pulling the wool over people's eyes. Rich GOP lawmakers completely ignoring their voters. Business as usual, that'd be, wouldn't it? And the Nine of Pentacles, they're not getting it. The GOP lawmakers are not getting it. I'm going to ask again, will there be a backlash towards them? Let's hope. That's sort of setting the scene for what the GOP are going to say. Oh, well, you know, COVID's over and we've always got to watch our money. The fact that I've got 75 million and you've got $2.50 is irrelevant, you know. But I'm insured. So what's your problem? How do they live with themselves? Okay, will there be a backlash? Will there be a backlash? Oh. These are different. I'm glad I asked the second question. Now, hopefully I'm not influencing the tone of the cards too much, but this is a different part of the story. Once it happens, So the Hermit. So if you look at each of these red states as little hermit kingdoms, they keep their people in the dark. That's what they do. But there's a little shred of light here with the Hermit. And the Hermit is also a bit more reflective. I know these people, by and large, are not deep and philosophical souls. However, they might even realize they're being taken for a ride and off the cliff. I mean, really, the rest of the world doesn't understand the American health system or the American insurance system, not a health system. They're being left at the top of the cliff to walk over the cliff. However, maybe they realize this has serious implications in the form of death. This is always to be remembered with this card, the trampling of the king. Health is an individual issue. It is also a family issue. It is also a social issue. I'm a health sociologist. And so sadly, I can, and many studies have done this, you can predict someone's likelihood of ill health via their zip code. Via their zip code, you can accurately predict the percentage of the population by zip code who are likely to contract certain preventable illnesses, so what the trajectory of that illness will be, and premature mortality. So it's all about the zip code. Evaluation, I'm quite pleased with this. And again, I'm getting the vibe. It's the Dems in these states who have to make it crystal clear for people. But let's all pray, particularly on such an auspicious weekend, that people are either going to wake up of their own accord, or they're going to be forced to wake up, or they're going to be left behind. Those are the three options looking at us in different social spaces. So let us hope with the energy of literally the resurrection of Passover leading the slaves out of Egypt, that this is symbolic at this point. Imagine, just imagine if 10, let alone 20% of these cradle-to-grave Republican voters, who are just working class people trying to live their lives and raise their families, wake up. Can you imagine? So let's all do prayers for that. All right, guys. So you have my immense love, and I'll be back in a nanosecond to see how you're all going. Oh, I always forget. I won't be taking new readings till after June when I'm back from my trip. So I'm already missing doing readings. That's when I connect with you guys. So I will let you know as the videos unfold when to get in touch if you want readings. Okay. Love and adore you. Bye. Ciao, ciao.